I get new people all the time that come into my store and they're like, why would I pay $200? And they put the cheap glove on and then they put the expensive glove on, and right there, I'm telling you, it is so tightly fit right to my wrist. All the energy is coming right. It's not fluffy. Everything's tight knit, and I can feel all the energy is transferring right through to my knuckles. Good wrist support. They have these wrist support pads right there. And then look how long that is. That's a long wrap that gets a lot of tension all the way around. What's up? Welcome to Fight City Gym Talk. You are here with Eric Wallin. Today's question is, why would I spend $200 on a glove or more when I could spend less than $50? What's the difference? Well, when it comes to cars, it's really easy. Cheap cars versus expensive cars, you see the difference. More horsepower, they look better, they drive better, they're more comfortable, all that good stuff. Well, when you box a lot, when you fight a lot, when you train a lot, you start to realize that it's quite easy to see that in a cheap glove versus an expensive glove. But when you're just starting, you know, basically if you don't know anything, like any, mini, miny, mo, which one's better, and it's like, I don't know. So for those who are just starting out in the fight game, there is a lot of differences, and they're big differences, but if you don't know what you're looking for, it's hard to tell. So first things first, price tag. If you're spending very little money, odds are it's not a very good glove, unless it's some sort of clearance and it's your lucky day. And it's a name brand glove, you've looked it up, you found the reviews, and it's also not some gimmicky China-made thing. I know a lot of people come to me after they buy Reyes on Amazon. They're like, is this a real Reyes glove? And I'm kind of like, sorry, man, you might have got took on that. So you do have to kind of buyer beware when you're buying things, because there are fraudulent gloves out there. So get a good glove from a reliable source is my recommendation, to make sure that you really are getting the expensive glove and getting a glove that's worth the money. So let's get into what's so different between a cheap glove and an expensive glove. So first things first, let's just look at the size difference here. Here's the deal. This is putting a lot of pad and a lot of fluff where it doesn't need to be. Big padding right here. You don't need a lot of padding right there. You need the padding on the knuckles, and you need support down the wrist. So it's got a lot of fluff here that's kind of unnecessary. What is Reyes doing? They're putting all the compact padding right where it needs to be. There's nothing excess. It's a very streamlined, very efficient, very effective glove. When you put the two of them on, I'm using the word fluff because that's what this glove feels like. It feels very big, fluffy, and bulky. It would work. It's one of my favorite cheaper gloves, but like, it's just not nearly as good as that Reyes glove. It just feels, it feels cheap. If you go into a store and you put them on side by side, you can feel it. I get new people all the time that come into my store and they're like, why would I pay $200? And they put the cheap glove on and then they put the expensive glove on, and right there, I'm telling you, it is so tightly fit right to my wrist. All the energy is coming right. It's not fluffy. Everything's tight knit, and I can feel all the energy is transferring right through to my knuckles. Good wrist support. They have these wrist support pads right there. And then look how long that is. That's a long wrap that gets a lot of tension all the way around. This isn't a Reyes video. I've done Reyes videos, so I don't want to talk too much about the Reyes. This is just about an expensive glove. This is an expensive glove. It feels amazing. Now, that's over $200. Let's talk about a glove that's less than $200, but still an amazing glove. I've said it in the past. This probably is my favorite glove. Now let's compare this gold rival to this less than $50 cheer wings. As I put them on, same thing. If you don't know what you're looking for and you don't know what you're doing, you look at it like, yeah, well, why the heck would I pay just under 200 when I could just pay under 50? Why would I? But as I'm holding these gloves in my hand, I have this little piece of Velcro, goes on like that. And as far as just decent gloves, it'll get the job done. Like it will work. But when I put this glove on and I take this right here and I kind of ratchet that around, same thing. This one, I feel like it's putting all the pressure in the right places and it's just going to transfer all the energy right where it needs to be. This one has that like fluffy, or even like the term like loosey-goosey is coming to my mind, where I feel like when I hit that punch, I've got energy and bend and flex going every direction. And this one, all that energy is just going straight down the pipe. And this one, I feel there's little, like I got gaps in there. It's loose in my wrist. This again has that wrist support, similar to what Reyes does. And this doesn't really have anything. So as far as comfort and feel, it is a little bit like a luxury car versus just your baseline cheap point A, point B type car. It really does feel like a luxury car when you put on these expensive gloves. But then you got to talk about longevity. I've sold tons of these RS11V, which is one of my favorite gloves. And I've also sold tons of these Reyes traditional hook and loop. And everybody that buys them comes back and raves and says, that was an amazing glove. I'm so glad you talked me into buying it, spending a little bit more, buying a good glove. So you're broke and you can't afford a decent glove. These aren't bad. So if you're wondering what glove you should buy that's cheap, they're not bad. They're just not nearly as good. One thing I always say, if you spend $100 on a glove, you probably want to get 1 year out of that glove. So this one's over $200. I probably honestly want to get 3 years out of this Reyes glove. And the honest truth is, I could name you person after person after person who has gotten over 3 years out of a Reyes glove, myself included. So you're going to get the bang for your buck out of this glove. Now this one's under 200. So as far as I'm concerned, if you get 2 years out of this glove, you got the bang for your buck. And will you get 2 years out of this glove? The answer is yes. Same thing. I can name a handful of guys that have gotten well over 2 years out of this glove. And so they're both a good buy. Back to less than $50. So how much time do you need to get out of this glove? Personally, if you got 6 months out of this glove, that'd be great. But now every 6 months you're buying a new pair of gloves. These ones actually last longer though. These cheer wings, I've sold a ton of them, and I've seen a lot of guys put over a year on these gloves. So like, just because it's cheap doesn't mean it's a bad glove. It's just not nearly as good as these in comfort, fit, and basically how they're transferring all that energy into the punch, where these ones are a little bit kind of loosey-goosey, like I said. And this one is really quite fluffy. And you notice how long that is. It's just not nearly as long as this. You're going to get more wrap and more Velcro attachment. And then last thing, let's talk about like what breaks down in a glove. These cheap gloves, a lot of times what happens is the Velcro gets shot, so they don't last very long. You get a crack right here along the top, and then it starts to salt and pepper out the bottom. And also you'll get a crack right here in the thumb. So even though these are cheap and I really like them, you're going to start to see that breakdown at about 6 months to a year in these gloves, even though I've seen them go longer. These gloves, what will break down on the Reyes is, depending on your color, some colors don't hold up very well. Yellow doesn't hold up very well in really any glove. For some reason, whatever's in yellow dye does not hold up well with boxing gloves. But you'll start to see the color come up right here. Sometimes you get some cracks and some color discoloration up here where the paint starts to come up. And, you know, I don't really see a lot of where these gloves break down. Of course, the Velcro gets weaker. that pad is going to get softer, but like it takes a long time for this to happen. The first thing that happens in these gloves is the paint starts to wear off, which honestly is not a big deal. The structure of the glove is still really good. And this glove right here, it doesn't really break down. It's just this gets super frayed, but it still holds. It's just frayed. It's just like it gets a little bit, I don't know, like it needs a haircut or something. It just gets a lot of like fabric comes out. It's still structurally fine, but it just starts to fray a lot. Also, this will get really weak here as you continue to beat that in. It just gets weak. So at the end of the day, is it worth it to have an expensive glove? I say as far as safety, durability, and having a glove that fits and feels really good, yes, the answer is yes. Can you get away with gloves like this? Also, the answer is yes. So I hope that answers your question. My personal opinion, if you have the money, spend it. And you hear me talk a lot about if you can't afford to buy good gloves, the honest truth is you probably can't afford to fight. So figure out how to make some more money, figure out how to buy yourself a good pair of gloves. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe, guys, and you'll hear from me soon.